Okay, I have 10 o'clock. I will call the Harrison County Commission meeting for Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025 to order. If you would rise and join us in the invocation and pledge.
Heavenly Father, I just thank you for this day. Thank you for this beautiful spring day as we approach Easter, Lord. I'm so thankful for what you did for all of us, all of our souls here in this room. Holy Spirit, come in this room. Be present with us as we travel today, as we make decisions for the people that we serve. I just thank you for who you are. And I'm also sad for what you had to do, for your mercy and your grace. And we'll see your face someday. In Jesus' name we pray. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anyone signed up to speak?
There is. Goldberg.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, David Goldberg, President and CEO of Mon Health and Davis Health System, as well as Executive Vice President of Vandalia Health. I just am here to say how excited we are to finally be able to break ground on the hospital we promised years back that we would start with. I want to thank the County Commission. I'm so thrilled the mayor of Bridgeport's here in Bridgeport. We already have our building permit. We're going to have equipment and start on Monday. Architectural is done, engineering is done, the design is done. When I was here a few years back to talk about it, 3 years actually, when we got approval, we did get approval after with the healthcare authority for us to shell in a second story. So we can build it as we're building the hospital. So we'll be able in the future to be able to build out further clinical or administrative services. So it'll be vacant at first, but we'll grow into it. But the hospital, the good thing is it's very similar to what many people in the community have experienced with Mon Marion Neighborhood Hospital. It'll be the same programming that we expect there. But we also have enough property that we can grow with the county as the county wants us and needs us to grow. So really, it's a great day. I joked when I spoke to a reporter yesterday, I said, this is not an April Fool's joke. We are definitely coming because it's not. But special thanks to Genesis Partners, the bondholders that have worked with Mr. Corden and his company to get to the point where issues that we're dealing with the land are put away. We're able to be able to have our acreage, we're able to break ground, we're able to build our hospital and be able to offer healthcare services in the community. That's really why I'm here today. It's just that we're excited to be here and cannot wait. And we'll have a more public ceremony in the next few weeks, but wanted to come in front of commission. I spoke with the mayor that I'd be coming down to Bridgeport at their next meeting as well. That's all I had to say today. So thank you all for your warmth, your reception, your hospitality, and your support through the process.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Is there anyone on Zoom that wishes to speak publicly? Anyone on Zoom wish to speak publicly? Okay. Hearing none, we will move to the consent agenda. What's the pleasure? Motion to approve consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 3, payroll change notices A through F. A motion to approve number 3A through F. My question is the Parks and Rec. The one that's going in is the 8.1. Is there a reason they're going in at a high step?
The experience.
Okay, was this advertised and?
Yes.
Okay.
We've been having a continuous maintenance, whether it's for Parks and Rec or Danny, going to try to fill our vacancies.
So there is a vacancy out there as well.
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me where we are with janitorial at 911? Just before I forget.
I know Danny has been gathering more applications. I don't think we've had enough to do a round of interviews. I'll follow up with them, after the meeting.
Okay, thanks. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? None, motion carried. Okay, I have 10:05. We have a special funding request from YMCA of North Central West Virginia requesting $1,500 for the Richard Iquina YMCA of North Central West Virginia 5K run and walk. There you are. Wonder what you're here. Just identify yourself.
My name's Rick Johnson. I'm the CEO of the Y. Just like to thank you for having us. I'm the representative from the Y, North Central West Virginia. And thank you for the opportunity to come here today. I'm here requesting these funds of support for the annual Richard Iquina YMCA of North Central West Virginia 5K run and walk taking place in May. This event is more than just a race. It's a community tradition that promotes health, wellness, and inclusivity for residents of all ages and ability. Your support will ensure that we can continue offering an impactful, accessible event for our community. Thank you all very much.
What's your motion for the $1,500 donation? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Okay, number 4, minutes and or amended minutes of previous meetings. It looks like we have one from March 19th. What's the pleasure? Motion to approve 4A. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. Number 5, requisitions, purchase orders, invoices, A through E. Motion to approve 5A through E. Is there any discussion? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 6, exonerations, corrective tickets, joint property applications. We only have exonerations, correct?
That is correct, Madam President.
Exhibit A. What's the pleasure? Motion to approve 6A. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Consideration of approval of a project fund requisition for the payment of costs associated with the project to be financed from proceeds of the series 2019 bonds issued for Charles Point Economic Opportunity Development District Series 2021 A and B, Development District number 3, White Oaks Project number 2, and Series 2008A, Charles Point Project number 2, Northland Bay Improvements. Okay. Motion to approve 7A, Series 2008A for $14,967.50, correct? Okay. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Number 8, review, discuss, consider the commission to engage Steptoe and Johnson to represent the commission in litigation in support of certain provisions of the West Virginia Tax Increment Financing Act. Motion to approve and affix the proper signature. Is that okay? Motion is to approve the engage Steptoe and Johnson to represent the commission in litigation and affix the appropriate signature.
Who brought this to the commission's attention? And placed it on the agenda?
It was given to me to place on the agenda by Commissioner Treecoff.
Mr. Treecost, could you explain why we're doing this, please?
We want to make sure that what we do is follow the due process. We have a situation or happening in our county where we have a signature from the governor that was approved by the House and the Senate. which allows us to take a TIF district from 30 years to 45 years. And while that has already been in litigation once, it's going in litigation again, and it's been obviously lobbied against severely. At the same time, it is moving forward as we speak now to still try to defuse something that the governor's signatures on. Now, over the past 30 years, we've grown exponentially because of the TIF district. Millions of dollars of infrastructure have been put in place, thousands of jobs have been created. Cities have, throughout the state of West Virginia, have more than quadrupled their budgets in some places. They're going through stages where they didn't have a police department or any vehicles to travel in, to having more opportunity than we could ever imagine. Everything the state has put in place and from a legislative branch has been successful, and it's done no more good than here in Harrison County. When you think about what home lives allowed us to do and what it's allowed us to build, when we think about the TIF district and what it's created for us, how can we disagree with what legislation is passing? We live in a society right now where we're trying to defuse federal government and say, quit getting in all our business and let the state run its state. Every state's different. We're all unique. No different than we are here in West Virginia. We need to quit putting this smoke screen up of toxic, when really we ought to be thankful for what we're allowed to do here in West Virginia. So we invest our tax dollars in millions of dollars of infrastructure that creates roads, that creates sidewalks, that brings clean water, sewage, fiber optic cable, communication, healthcare. We're on the top of the world here, yet we keep kicking it because we want to take our ball and go home because we're unhappy.
So
And we want to make sure that we can have more. We're so content to do exactly what the offer is for 30 years when we see the potential to double in our size. But yet, once we get to where we want to be all along.
So
then
which,
we need more.
which
You
TIF
asked me
project
what
are we talking about, Patsy?
talking about anything that involves the TIF district and anything that involves us in a legal situation that we do need the representation of Tommy Amen. Because Tommy Amen and Stephen Johnson represent us in a way that we know is proper.
I'm still not sure I understand. You want us to join in litigation against a entity in Harrison County to make sure that the state did not do something that was unconstitutional.
Oh, no, sir. The state did nothing unconstitutional.
You don't know that.
I do know that. I do know
I'm
that.
glad you're a constitutional lawyer and that's why that they're all going to courts to check the constitutionality of the law. Because that's what this is all boiled down to. So, I mean, if Mr. Amen would like to say that it's not about the constitutionality of the law, I'd love to hear what the reason is, then that everybody's in court in Charleston.
President, what I do is like to finish him asking me a question, and then don't cut me off when I give him an answer.
You didn't give me an answer.
I did give him,
What's the answer?
and the answer is we've done nothing wrong.
I didn't say we
Has
did.
done nothing wrong, and neither has the state of West Virginia. And when people went to Charleston to lobby against it and didn't get their way, they're unhappy now and choose to go to the legal system. It's as simple as that.
And that's not their prerogative?
It is their prerogative to do what they want. But the point of it is this is costing the taxpayers of Harrison County and the taxpayers of the state of West Virginia thousands and tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees. And should things go south on this and we lose our state bond rating, it's going to be hurt West Virginia in a capacity that we can never imagine. Yet, instead of being thankful for what it's done for us, we don't even have to look at Greenbrier County or Ohio County. We can just look at North Central West Virginia and see the job opportunity, the education opportunity, the health opportunity, the growth opportunity. When I used to drive by when I commuted to Fairmont State from Clarksburg to Fairmont State and look at a cow field, now it has more opportunity in it than we could have ever imagined we had in 1980. So instead of always running to the court system because we don't get our way, why don't we just simply say thank you for legislation going through committee after committee to make sure that what we do is right. Because of what we do is right, say thank you. And be happy for the growth we've had. Appreciative. Go ahead, Tommy.
No, I need to comment to you because you just said that it's terrible. We always go to the court system to solve these issues, but that's what you're asking us to do
No.
today is go to the court system. Well,
We
you
have
just, you're
solved
talking
these
out both
issues.
sides of your mouth.
We have solved these issues, is my point, through the Capitol,
Uh,
through the governor's signature.
Is this
through an
about,
overwhelming vote of the House and the Senate, and now we as a commission, rather than the clerk's office, can do anything that the Secretary of State's office allows them to do through legislation. So if every time a clerk doesn't get his or her way, they can take it up legally, or they can just follow the rules of legislation, which is law. It's only a bill, David, unless it gets through. If a bill gets through, it's law. Follow the law and be appreciative of what's happened here.
are you done?
You asked the question.
And I asked if you're done. Because I definitely don't want to say anything until you're done. So, Mr. Amon, does this have to do with whether the law is constitutional or not?
It does.
Okay, and that happens every time a bill is passed or a law is passed that people can ask and say that it's not constitutional. That's part of the American way to handle things that get passed by legislatures.
Certainly, there can always be a constitutional challenge to any statute.
So we have a entity that's challenging the constitutionality of a bill that was passed. And part of this commission doesn't believe that they have the right to challenge that constitutionality.
No, part of this commission doesn't see the purpose of it because we follow the letter of the law.
Who's we?
We as a commission, everything we have voted on and approved when it comes to this district is exactly what the letter of the law allows us to do. We have not got out of bounds one single time.
Who wants to speak next? I don't want to step on anybody's toes. If you'd like to speak, go ahead, please.
So, as Commissioner Hinkle alluded to, there was initially, well, I don't think we need to go back to the very beginning, but probably 2/3 of the way through this situation, the county was undertaking an effort to extend the TIF district. The city of Bridgeport felt that that was in violation of their rights to do that. The county proceeded to extend the district in accordance with, as Commissioner Treecost had referenced, the statute that has been passed that basically allows counties or cities to extend districts, TIF districts, if they had issued bonds prior to 2020, with the idea that the COVID pandemic had an adverse impact on a lot of TIF districts and impacted repayment of bonds. And so if a county or city had done that and created a district, had bonds outstanding, there was an opportunity to extend the district, and cities could do so without county consent, but counties then created an opportunity to do that without city consent. Cities can do things without county consent with respect to TIFs. And so counties did not initially have that right with respect to cities. And so city felt like that was a problem from their perspective. The county did proceed to move forward and got the extension approved by the development office, and the county also approved it. However, the bondholder, the county does have bonds outstanding that were issued in 2008. And the bondholder had expressed that they were not comfortable restructuring the bonds, relying on that 15-year extension, with the city of Bridgeport being out there potentially bringing legal action to challenge the extension. And so therefore, they needed to have that resolved in some way. So the developer, Genesis Partners, had filed suit in the Northern District of West Virginia seeking a writ of mandamus, finding that the statute is in fact constitutional. The city of Bridgeport then filed an action in Kanawha County Circuit Court, basically contending that the Circuit Court was a more appropriate venue for that case. That is currently pending because of the potential impact of that case on Monongalia County, as they had relied on the same statute that the county is seeking to rely on to extend their district, but they've actually also issued bonds with respect to that. So they're also impacted. So they have engaged us to try to intervene in the Kanawha County case to defend the constitutionality challenge that's currently pending. So what's under consideration here is for the county to also join in that, seek to intervene in that litigation to defend the constitutionality of the statute.
Who told me they are 100% within their right to do so. They have been 100% against this since the very beginning. As it went through legislation, they did everything they could to convince others that it would be the wrong law to pass. They've made every effort in the world. We've paid you much more money because of this than we ever would have had to if we didn't. At the expense of taxpayers. They're even asking for legal fees to be paid for at the expense of the taxpayers. And now this is their next step, much like across the street at the courthouse. When our prosecuting attorney has somebody prosecuted, they have the legal system to continue to fight, to continue to fight, to continue to fight, regardless if they're wrong or not. Their stance is legally to continue to fight forever. Doesn't matter what you've done wrong, you can fight forever. Because you can get to the point that you're never going to accept what everybody else agrees on but you. And this is their next step, right?
So at this point,
Tommy, just excuse me, I
Yeah.
think we need a little history that this group did go to Charleston and get a bill passed and a law passed that they could do an extension, but it involved the city of Bridgeport, correct?
so
It's a yes or no question.
I'm not sure that I understand.
They did not pass a bill down in Charleston where that did not take the rights away from the city of Bridgeport to be involved in the extension of the TIF.
It wasn't specific to our situation.
But they passed a bill.
The import of the bill was to do that.
And that didn't
yes.
make certain people happy, and they went down and started another bill to go through because they did not want cities to be involved. And it just didn't involve this city, but it did hurt other cities.
As far as lobbying against the bill,
Yes. And they went
Yes.
down and made sure a new bill got passed.
that was the original effort, yes.
But the state at the time did not see the point in it. They didn't think it was correct.
The original statute that got
Yeah.
passed,
That had the limitation that involved the cities, and then we removed the cities.
it did, although the statute that was passed at that time,
Wouldn't make these bonds pay out.
Well,
Let's just call it what it is. These
No,
bonds wouldn't have paid out with that extension.
it had problems with it. Part of the problem with it was that it flipped the situation around and said that for the 15-year extension period, that basically you could only collect special levies with respect to levying bodies, as opposed to the TIF program is founded on the idea that you collect only the regular levy. And if you were to collect the special levies, that would impact special levies in a way that, because of how they're set up, it probably would have made those levies and the purposes that they were established for insolvent. You know, like you have bond levies, and if you've got if a school board issues bonds, they're repayable through a special levy. If you were to capture that through the TIF, they wouldn't have an ability to repay their bonds. So it was done in such a way that really just didn't work. at
But
that
the
time.
cities were involved
Yes,
and then the cities got removed,
yes.
but nobody took that to court.
I think the idea at the time was to try to seek to have the statute further amended to,
To remove the cities.
yes, and the problem with the switching to the regime of the special levy versus the regular levy.
Was the city involved in the original bond issue?
City, not per se the bond issue, but municipalities, if a county establishes a TIF district within municipal boundaries, the municipality does have the ability to consent to the creation of the district.
So now we don't care what the city thinks.
I don't know that I would put it that way. I
That's
mean,
what the impression I'm getting. I guess the other thing,
there's-
and I know it's on another agenda, but did you not approach the city to settle this?
yes,
And has the city and all parties met and discussed this settlement?
I don't think a meeting or a general discussion or meeting of that nature has taken place to my knowledge.
So we're just skipping that request to settle and going straight to court. Because that's, I mean, if we're gonna say we're going to court, I don't see where there's gonna be any settlement going after. Is that what we're saying, that we don't want to try to do this before we turn loose attorneys, and we could stop this tomorrow if all the parties could just agree on something?
Well, so the developer did make an offer. And that offer was, the response to that offer was basically
Turn down?
turned down, but also in such a way that there wasn't really any counter proposal at that time. And so the only way forward was to try to get a court ruling.
Well, the court ruling was on federal court or the state court?
The federal.
Federal
The
court.
federal
It
court,
was against the state, huh?
No,
I mean, I'm not trying to stop this, but I think we're getting off onto something else that doesn't deal with the
It- it-
engagement letter. Am I correct?
it all
And we
deals
need
with
to
the
move on.
same thing. Why are we engaging them when we've spent 145,000 so far on this, and Tommy can't tell us how much we're gonna pay to go fight a case that could go on for years?
That's been done. If people just accept the law.
Well, you know what, Patsy, right here is where they all tried to come up with a way to talk to each other and they haven't done it. So why don't you tell all the parties to come to this office and sit down and iron it out, and nobody has
It's
to go to
not gonna
court?
happen, but it's been tried and tried and tried.
You think?
Yep.
You think that this has been discussed, tried and tried and tried? Tommy, would you tell me how many times you've met with the city of Bridgeport, Jamie Corton and Brian Crumbaker to settle this?
Here again, we're not talking about an engagement letter. We're off on another agenda item that we can discuss that when the time comes. And I'm just trying to grab a hold of this and one thing at a time.
So we're just gonna waste more taxpayer dollars on more legal fees for Septo and Johnson.
Because of what?
Because of you?
Because of it.
Okay, I'm gonna call this, we're gonna take a vote on agenda item number 8. Unless, Tom, you want to say anything further?
we could talk a lot, we can talk about this for
We could-
days.
Exactly.
I mean, there were discussions that started where we all got in a room. I don't even know whether it was summer 22 or 23 at this point, and tried to work through these issues. And had 2 or 3 confabs. And then that,
And who was always the missing party?
I was told,
Who was the missing party? Just say who never sat in those
well,
meetings.
I was told that.
Here again, we're off the subject.
I was told
All
that
in
Janet-
favor of engaging Steptoe and Johnson to represent the county commission in the litigation support of certain provisions of West Virginia State Increment Financing Act, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed.
No, and let it
Motion
go on the
carried.
record, it's another wasteful spending of taxpayer dollars by Harrison County Commission on a lawsuit that doesn't need to happen.
Okay, number 9. Well, we have a Funding request that was scheduled for 10/10. Special funding request from Hudson Pillar Foundation requesting $5,000 for the Derek Hudson Pitzer, oh my gosh, Pillar, I'm sorry. Fallen Stars Memorial 5K.
Thanks for having me. I didn't realize my terrible handwriting was going to be broadcast for everyone to see there, but the Fallen Stars 5K is coming up soon on June 7th. It's our biggest fundraiser of the year. The Hudson Pillar Foundation is established in the memory of James and Derek Hudson Pillar. James was a lieutenant with the Bridgeport Police Department. Derek was a U.S. Marshal that was killed in the line of duty. The foundation not only supports scholarships for students seeking degrees in criminal justice, we have expanded now to help families of fallen law enforcement officers with monetary donations. We just made a big donation over the weekend of canine training kits to canine officers from all over the state. We help officers in need that are wounded or that have different kinds of medical issues. So we've expanded what the foundation does a lot. So the county commission has been one of our oldest supporters, and we would appreciate continued support.
Motion's been made to approve $3,000 to the Hudson Pillar Foundation 5K. Is there any discussion?
Yes, ma'am, they requested 5. I don't know why we're cutting it to 3.
In years past, we have always given 3,000 for this event.
I'd like to see 5,000.
Sometimes you gotta let me know.
Okay, so you're gonna amend your motion to 5,000.
Doesn't work out. Just a good morning.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Mhm.
100%.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye to the $5,000 donation.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
please get with me on how you would like to be advertised during the race.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tim.
Okay, at 10:15, special funding request from Together with Veterans requesting $2,000 for Veterans Service Fair.
My name is Tom Willis. I'm with a Harrison County Veterans Outreach Coalition, together with veterans. 4 times a year, we actually hold a Veterans Service Fair where we get outside vendors that provide free services to veterans in one room where the veterans can actually go table to table to get the information. It's been proven very successful. We had our last one this past Saturday, and thank you, Susan, for coming. And that was probably one of the best ones we've ever had. So,
Great.
and it's a good way to get the information directly to the veterans. Thank you very much.
Motion to approve the $2,000 for Together with Veterans Service Fair. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carried. Okay, number 9, review, discuss, consideration of approval of engagement letter with Steptoe and Johnson for bond counsel services associated with the replacement of bond trustee for outstanding tax increment revenue bonds issued for Development District Number 3 White Oaks Business Park and Development District Number 4 White Oaks Industrial Park. What's the pleasure?
Adopt the resolution which would approve the replacement of bond trustee.
Motion to adopt the resolution for the tax increment revenue bonds for White Oak Development District Number 3. And is that it?
Could I get an explanation?
Yes.
While we're
but-
doing this.
Are we on the engagement letter right now?
We should be on the engagement letter. I think there was a little mix up.
Oh,
I see 9, review, discuss, and consider is what we're on.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's my bad.
I thought we already approved 8.
That's my bad. I already crossed 9 off. I shouldn't have. So,
did you?
yeah, we were on White Oaks, the engagement letter for
Okay.
White Oaks. 3 and 4. I knew I read 3 and 4, but when I was looking down, I just saw 3. That's why.
Okay, so, obviously, we're switching gears now from White Oaks or from Charles Point over to the White Oaks TIF. And there's two districts there, one for what they call the industrial park and one for the business park. And the county has issued bonds with respect to both of those districts. And United Bank is currently the trustee on those bonds. And the trustee, basically, the monies are sent every month, the tax increment revenues to the trustee, and then they make the payments on the bonds when the payments become due. And they also hold, during the construction of the project, they hold a project fund. And if there's a reserve fund, they hold the reserve fund. And so the developer and bondholder, High Tech Corridor Development, would like to change the trustee of the bonds from United Bank to WesBanco Bank. And the engagement letter would be for the county to engage Steptoe and Johnson to provide the legal work necessary to make that change. So that's just with respect to the engagement letter. But happy to try to answer
Any cost to the county?
just from the tax increment revenues of the district that we would be compensated. Steptoe, under the engagement, our fees would be paid from the tax increment revenues. But the trustee, they charge annual fees that are paid from the tax increment revenues. And the WesBanco's fee going forward will just be in replacement of United Bank's fee.
That's all questions I have.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Now we'll do number 10, adoption of the resolution in order which would approve the replacement of the bond trustee for the tax increment revenue bonds issued by the County Commission for Development District Number 3, White Oaks Business Park, and the execution and delivery of such documents as are necessary in connection with the same.
So this is, this
I
resolution.
guess, let me back up. Did we approve an engagement letter or resolution?
I think I made the motion to approve the engagement letter, so I think we need to recap on it. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I just happened to think.
I
Okay.
followed your lead, and I followed you. So you're right. This is to approve,
Engagement letter.
yes. Motion to approve engagement letter, and I'm sorry, I followed.
Okay.
I didn't catch it.
Okay. Well, I didn't write off.
That's okay.
Okay. So all in favor
Yeah.
of number 9,
Yeah.
approving the engagement letter with Steptoe and Johnson for the replacement of the bond trustee for White Oaks Business Park and Industrial Park. Try this again. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Hearing none, motion carried. Now we will go to 10, which is the resolution for White Oaks District Number 3 Business Park.
I'm tracking it.
So the resolution is the official action of the county that would effectuate the trustee replacement. That, the trustee is in privity contract with the county commission. And so the county commission does have a role in this, a primary role. And so there's a trustee replacement agreement that the resolution approves, which is the primary document that would carry this out. And it talks about how the two trustees would interact to carry this out, that there are various accounts that United has that would need to move over to WesBanco, and that they agree to do that. And then that United would take over all the duties of trustee under the trust indenture. And so that's how this would proceed, by execution of that document by the county and the trustee, and then the two trustees working together to move these accounts over.
The resolution and order.
Yes.
Okay. Motion to approve and adopt the resolution and order regarding the replacement of the bond trustee for
And that's
White
for
Oak.
Development District number 3, which is the business park.
Yes, for the business park. White Oak's number 3, correct? Say it again. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Here we go, one more, I think.
Okay, this is basically the same resolution with the same
But
attachment,
it's for the,
and the same mechanisms and the same two parties, United and West Banco, except that involves the district number 4, which is the industrial park.
pleasure. Okay, motion to adopt the resolution in order to approve replacement of the bond trustee for tax increment revenue bonds issued by the commission for district number 4 White Oaks Industrial Park. Correct? Okay. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, motion carried. Thanks. All. Number 12, review, discuss, consider, update, and discussion with respect to Charles Point bond restructure efforts, potential executive session pursuant to 69A4B9 to consider matters involving or affecting the purchase, sale, or lease of property, advanced construction planning, the investment of public funds, or other matters involving commercial competition, which if made public might adversely affect the financial or other interest of the county. Possible executive session.
So Madam President, this stems from a request. Commissioner Hinkle asked me to reach out to all the parties involved with, mainly in dealing with the Bridgeport letter that is later on the agenda. With that, reached out to the bondholder, Tommy, Genesis Partners, everything. And we came up with maybe the commission needs to have an update and discussion with respect to the Charles Point restructure efforts. So that's where this agenda item came from, and I believe Mr. Tom Amon has an update for us that would be best explained in executive session.
I'd also like to put into the record a letter we received today from James R. Christie, attorney at law, stating that Genesis will not participate in any updates to the commission due to frivolous threats that have been filed in court. And due to these pending cases, they will make no further public comments. So please make this part of the record that Genesis does not want to report to us, even though we sell the bonds, and explain to us what's going on. Mr. Heyman, if you could tell us what's going on with the bonding company and how they were able to make sure David Goldberg's got his property and how Interstate got their property, and evidently we're all good and we're going to reissue bonds.
Yeah,
I would-
The motion to go into executive session with the 3 of us, county administrator, yourself, and Mr. Romano, so that we can discuss this. And
And what does Mr. Romano bring to the table, Patsy?
he told me, yeah. I told me, yeah.
What's that have to do with it?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Economic development. Okay.
I would,
What's Madam Prosecutor's on?
Yeah, I would just encourage you all to go into executive session, especially given the prior vote that we're going to enter into litigation involving all the parties. Mr. Raymond is here today to provide a detailed update. It's best to be done in there. Certainly.
Motion to go into executive session.
how about Mayor Lang?
It's not up to him.
Well,
It's
now
up
we need to
you.
make it part of the record whether we're going to invite him back or not. I mean, I would encourage all the parties to go back initially if Tom thinks it's appropriate. Do you believe that's appropriate?
I think so.
So we're going to Mayor Lang, Senior Attorney Rachel Romano, Michael, Romano. Trey.
Trey.
What about the assessor?
If we invite the whole room back, guys.
I just go on record that it's not complaining at all. It's got short notice on a Monday. Our city manager failed to let anybody know, and Dean Ramsey's out of town, and Barry Cecil, our other lawyer, is unavailable. We contacted her yesterday morning. So I don't have any legal. I'm afraid going to the meeting.
If you don't want to, it was more of courtesy. If
I
you wanted to.
I appreciate that. I think I really should, but like I said, I don't think I can.
Okay, so you won't be joining us.
But I would appreciate if we could set another meeting up where we could have legal record. Get an update. Like I said, we didn't get those until Monday afternoon.
Won't you have the city manager contact Laura? We'll let us know after you want.
Yeah, that'd be fine. Yeah.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Just saying we didn't vote it.
Saying aye.
However, there could be a special meeting on April 9th at 9 a.m.
Okay, so there's no action to be taken on 12, and we'll have a special meeting next Wednesday. Okay. I don't know that we need to take a vote on that, since there's no action. So we will move on to number 13. Review, discuss, consider letter from City of Bridgeport regarding proposed terms related to extension of Harrison County Development District Number 2, Charles Point.
City of Bridgeport has presented a letter on trying to work with Genesis. This was at a request, I think, with Mr. Amon through their attorney to try to get this court case settled. I just would like to make sure that it's part of the record. And if all parties could keep us updated on where this stands and how it's being handled.
For sure, for sure.
So we just need to make part.
Has there been any movement on any of the parties?
So. Some of these things are probably okay from Genesis perspective. Again, I think, you know, it's not just the county that needs to be satisfied and coming to resolution with the city. It also needs to be Genesis partners, because they own the land and the development. They are the developer of record with respect to the TIF, both TIFs, and they are the party on the property tax bonds that are impacted by the CED assessments. So any kind of resolution that would be reached by the county and the city with respect to this, if that then resulted in bond restructuring that has CED assessments or other implications that impact the developer, then that's why that they're a party that needs to be satisfied with the situation as well, or you're risking suit from the developer to upset this. So, you know, I think there are some things here that work, but the 50-50 split for that last 15 years and the payment of the legal fees are probably two of the biggest hurdles to overcome here to get agreement on this issue.
Now, are you facilitating these negotiations?
I mean,
I'm trying to understand
Yeah.
who is Cause I don't think anybody other than you has been involved.
So I don't know. It, I don't know that I'm really. I mean, I'm certainly, I communicate the offers and the county's position and the city's position and the bondholders' positions to the developer. But I think at that point, we're looking for them to speak for themselves or through council to the county or to me to address this. And so I don't think we've really heard that yet.
Okay, so
Other
then
than the letter
that says they're not gonna discuss it.
that says that they don't want to make public, maybe we should read the letter into the record. I mean, I think it says that they don't want to make public comments with respect to pending litigation, which is why they didn't want to appear at the commission meeting. But I don't.
You want to read the letter along in the?
So this letter is from Genesis Partners, from their attorney, James Christie, addressed to myself. I represent Genesis Partners, Limited Partnership Genesis, developer of Charles Point, a master plan community located in the city of Bridgeport. I'm responding on behalf of Genesis. Genesis respectfully declines the request and invitation of Mr. David Hinkle to attend the county commission's meeting scheduled for April 2nd, 2025. There are two pending civil actions pertaining to issues that are scheduled to be addressed and discussed at said meeting. One case is pending in United States District Court for the Northern District of West Virginia, CV number 124-CV-00106, and the other in Circuit Court of Kanawha County, West Virginia, CV number CC 2025 C70. The latter case having been filed by the city of Bridgeport against West Virginia Economic Development Authority. Due to the nature of these cases, my client will not comment on these cases at this time, except to say that Genesis has had to protect the Charles Point development from the constant threats by the mayor of Bridgeport to sue over the constitutionality of the TIF extension. To address these frivolous threats, Genesis filed an action in federal court against the city of Bridgeport to put an end to the mayor's continuing and unfounded legal threats. As a result of the filing of the federal case, the city has sued the state in Kanawha County Circuit Court over the constitutionality of the law. We do expect the state will prevail in defending this important economic development statute and law. Due to the pending cases and my client's respect for the legal process, Genesis will make no further public comments at this time. Thank you. Very truly yours, James R. Christie.
So it seems like they don't want to make public comments, but obviously that leaves the channels open for communications outside of meetings, et cetera. So
Well, I guess, again, from what I just heard is that it's mostly what I can determine is from the lawsuits, but they don't want to discuss publicly. Is that correct? What, I mean, I got three attorneys in the room. That's why I took that. They don't want to discuss the lawsuits.
That's fair.
But that doesn't mean we can't discuss the issue of trying to get everybody on the same page as far as what Bridgeport offered and what they've offered. I'm trying to figure out who that mediator is. Because we don't seem to have a mediator other than you trying to, you're stuck. Do we need somebody to mediate this for the parties?
I think Brian, I think the attorney for the bondholders would be the party to bring the city and Genesis and the county together to try to work through that issue.
And how do we do that?
I could reach out to him and to the attorney and let him know where we are. I've already discussed this. He suggested that perhaps he could step in at some point and try to bridge the gap between the city and the developer on this issue. So I think there's an opportunity to accept his invitation and see if he's willing to do that.
Does that take a motion or does that just something that
Between them, I would say.
between them? Yeah, okay. Well, see if we can't make that happen so that we can end all these court cases and get this settled and figure out a way to get all parties on the same page.
Okay, I can do that.
We're gonna pay Tommy to do that, even though we know it doesn't.
I know.
You know, I just want to take a second from the EODD standpoint. You know, we oversee the
Tommy.
bonds. I'm sorry,
Tommy.
you what time?
Yeah, I gotta meet my wife at
That's all right.
12:15, Michael. for
I'm,
lunch.
I've got a lunch meeting myself, but you know, with all due respect to the city of Bridgeport, you know, we're asking Genesis to negotiate against itself in this matter. Because if Bridgeport loses the case, they get nothing. And, you know, based on my legal acumen, I don't think Bridgeport has any basis to challenge the constitutionality of the statute. Now, that said, you know, follow the money. This is really about trying to extract some money from Genesis and the development by the city because they know they have leverage with this lawsuit because it's holding up the restructuring of the bonds. And the restructuring of the bonds is important not only to Genesis, but it's important to the county. It's important to the county that these bonds don't go into default, don't get foreclosed on. It's important to the state and every TIF that goes forward from here on out. So, you know, I'm really, and I agree with you, Dave, or Commissioner, if there's a way to negotiate a resolution, this would be great. But you know, the delay has been going on for years from the threat of this lawsuit, the actual filing of the lawsuit. And now if it doesn't get resolved, we're going to destroy one of the best developments Harrison County has. So if the commission, let me just finish. If the
Okay.
commission has any sway over the city, and I realize we all want to work together. And, you know, years ago, we would have worked this out very quickly and taken care of it. But the city hasn't even responded to your FOIA, which requested proof of these additional costs that aren't more than compensated for by the 20-some million that they've received in taxes. With the opening of Menards, my rough calculations show that the city's getting almost $1 million a year in additional sales tax. So, you know, all that said, you know, I just want to be clear that from our perspective, Genesis is kind of negotiating with itself because there's really nothing to give up here that the city of Bridgeport's made a case that it should receive.
So anything further on 13, no action to be taken?
No, just I'd like to make sure that we work this, the parties can work this out. I don't think I think what's happened from the meetings that I've sat in that all the parties, I think Tom can say that there's always been an issue with nobody wanted to give. Everybody wanted to take. I don't think the county has tried to be unreasonable in their request. I can't say that the city has been unreasonable. They have only asked that they be included, and that was the very first ask, and we didn't keep them in the ball game. And let's be honest, Mike, they didn't file the first lawsuit. That was fired by the developer. And I understand why he fired it. I understand, but it's a threat that could have been settled long before it got to where it did. We know that.
Money always settles.
Yeah. So that's all I have.
Okay, we'll move to number 14, review, discuss, consider status of Rycon GSA litigations, potential executive sessions pursuant to the attorney-client privilege.
We can.
Fine.
Can we table it to the special meeting day?
Absolutely.
That work?
That's fine.
Okay.
Motion to table.
Motion to table number 14 until April 9th.
Yes.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carried. Number 14. Review, discuss, consider budget revisions for the tax office.
I'm so confused today.
15, what did I say, 14?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Review, discuss, consider budget revisions for the tax office, 404 tax division, move 79,543. Do I need to read all these?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
So, Madam President, in your packet that we actually put together for the commissioners in your folder, I have a budget expenditure report in there with highlights for this item. The request is to move money from salaries, FICA, and retirement to a new equipment line item.
I'm saying that take as much time as you want, but I'll go ahead and make the motion. That way I can vote no.
What's the motion that you're voting no on? That's all I want to know, Patsy. I know you're voting no, but okay, well, that makes it easy.
Okay. Any discussion? You called the question. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
No.
No. Okay. Number 16, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Review, discuss, consider budget revisions for the sheriff, and these are all, well, I guess we under 700 law enforcement, 701 process, and 730 security. He's moving their monies from various line items. They all.
Madam President, I make a motion to approve 700 line item change, 701 line item change, and 730 line item change.
Motion to approve 16,700 line item change, 701 line item change, and 730 changes. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Hearing none, motion carried. Number 17, review, discuss, consider modifying previously approved use of opioid funds for the sheriff's department. It's $200,000 was approved for DARE officer salary for 2 years. Change to purchase of vehicles to be used by DARE officers and in various prevention.
Madam President, I make the motion that the commission reallocate the $200,000 back to the committee for redistribution to opioid settlement obligations.
Okay, the motion has been made to reallocate the $200,000 back to the committee.
For consideration of redistribution.
For consideration of redistribution. So in other words, you don't want to do that.
In other words, I'm telling you, if we can afford a top of the line Chevy Tahoe to take prisoners to the doctors, we can afford our own cars with our own salary and leave our opioid money out of it. This opioid money is important. It's to good people that have been affected by this and have anything to do with cruisers.
We're using them for your DARE officers,
Which is great.
well,
This is for transportation.
for the DARE officers. We're gonna
Okay.
move it over to DARE.
No, sir. I'm moving it back to the committee to distribute for opioid,
Okay,
anything else related to opioid. Obviously, he doesn't need the money for DARE officer salaries now, and I'll be darned if I'm gonna put it in the cruisers when we just allocated in a new budget, Madam Administrator. How many new cruisers?
Roughly 5, depending on what the price comes in
And
at.
prior to this year, we do have a brand new Chevy Tahoe and a new pickup truck with camper top.
So the Tahoe was bought out of concealed carry funds, and the F-150 was bought out of asset forfeiture funds, but
But it
vehicles
could have
were
bought new
purchased.
Cruisers for our deputies who are on the road, and that's their office 10 hours a day.
Yes, sir. If I may add to this agenda item, so originally the opioid committee allocated $200,000 for a DARE officer for 2 years for the schools. In talking through the budget meetings, didn't want to tie opioid money to a position in case there's no funding for it to continue. So it was requested that we move the money from filling an actual position to something that the DARE officers could use, which would be a cruiser. Or just,
Let's, for the record, confirm that our previous sheriff was tickled pink with the opportunity to use this money and then work out with the Board of Education a permanent solution to protect our children in their schools where we want to keep them safe and theirs again. True?
He talked about several things, but one thing was to try to continue that position.
This was his number one initiative when we received this money. We could help him out temporarily for 2 years in their office.
I'd like to make a motion also to rescind the $200,000 that was approved for DARE officer salaries over 2 years and to change the purchase of 3 vehicles to be used by DARE officers and in various prevention.
Maybe you understand, he's had the money to do this.
I understand, Patsy, and I just look at it's cruisers, they'll last for DARE for the next 6 or 7 years. We can make them really good for the DARE's officers to use, and it just helps with that issue that we still have with the lack of vehicles. So it allows us not to worry about purchasing other vehicles for them, but we can use the other money so we can get these guys in new vehicles. That's what I worry about is when they're on the road, when they're in.
Well, the sheriff's not worried about it, Commissioner.
Well, I can't help that. I can only worry about.
Well, my concern, I'm gonna play again. My concern is making sure we have the funds for those DARE officers. And I don't know that these funds will always be there is my concern.
I think as a whole,
And I don't have an issue with the cruisers.
And I understand you what you're saying, Madam President, but with the Board of Education getting 70% of taxpayers' money, if they feel that it's this important for 2 years, they can find the money.
But we can't guarantee that they will.
Not at all. But that is the Board of Education. Right. And they do have to end up sometime.
Okay.
So just go ahead and make my motion here.
Right, okay, all in favor of reallocating the $200,000 back to the committee, signify by saying aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
No. Now, Mr. Hinkle's motion is to rescind the $200,000 for the DARE officers, reallocate it for 3 cruisers or how many ever cruisers?
Yep.
And there'll probably be money
Be
left
money
over
left over
for supplies for the DARE program.
That
Yes,
is
ma'am.
correct.
And we know that the $200,000 is going to cover those 3 vehicles.
$200,000 should cover 3 vehicles, yes.
Fully equipped.
My understanding.
Yes.
Now, that's your understanding. Now, what if it goes over the $200,000? Does that come out of the sheriff's budget or that come out of the general fund?
That can be another discussion.
We don't need the discussion today because our budget is.
If we can't get 3 vehicles, let me just, if we can't get 3.
If we can't get 3,
amount of
reduce the
cruisers.
amount of cruisers to what we can afford and then use the money left over for DARE
Program.
projects.
Okay. Any further discussion on this last motion? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Do that. Okay, 18, review, discuss, consider appointing to the Centra Board. A, Tim DeFazio, and B, Jeannie McNabb. Are there 2?
So there's only one position available. The Center Board has requested, they would like Tim DeFazio, but Ms. McNabb also submitted, because she's willing to serve on any board that the commission has available that we would like her to serve on. So both are before you.
Both filled out an application.
Both have filled out an application.
And McNabb sits on the board now.
No. Tom
So it's-
Durrett is the one.
Well, it says right now she serves on the EODD board.
Right.
Yes, we
Oh, I
recently.
thought you meant this board.
No.
Okay.
So I would say that would be a one or the other instead of sitting on 2 boards. I make a motion to accept Tim DeFazio.
Okay, the motion is to appoint, right? To appoint,
Yes, to appoint Tim DeFazio.
Tim DeFazio to the Centra Bus Board. Is there any discussion? My only reason for that is because that is who they requested. We can keep Jeannie in mind for any other boards that may come up. Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Number 19, review, discuss North Central West Virginia Economic Outlook 23 through 27.
So Madam President, this is actually a great tool that Christina Murphy and the Planning and Grants Department came across while looking for different grants. It's very interesting for North Central West Virginia. Commissioner Hinkle asked that it be put on the agenda to be made part of the record.
Thank you all for finding that. And I think it's, I don't know if anybody else had time to look at it, but it's an interesting document and, hopefully we can delve into it more in the future and take a look at some of the things that they talked about and see if we can't use it for the county and for our growth. Thank you.
It's my folder for future reference.
Great.
Sounds great.
Madam President, would you all mind if we skip to you? I missed this. Another point.
Okay, number 22, review, discuss, consider letter from the Farmland Protection Board requesting excise tax be increased for the program to the max amount set forth by the state.
So currently, right now in Farmland Protection Board, we only collect a portion of what we are able to collect. Ms. Charlotte, do you want to?
You have the amount.
Right now, we are collecting $1.50 for every 1,000. The state has mandated that we can collect up to $2.20 per thousand. And I talked to David before the meeting about this, and he wanted me to get some information, and I have that information. There are 19 counties that are in farmland protection. They all have $2.20 per thousand, except for Harrison County. It's always been $2.20 since 2002.
I thought it was raised. It's been raised.
It started out at
I
75.
know it's been raised because
And
I
then
had
we
a
went-
discussion with the realtor.
We went to $1.50, and that's when the realtors really got upset and came in. And we had that meeting where they weren't happy that we raised it to that, but I forgot that we could go to that.
I did forward this email to all of you. And she said the transfer tax was passed by the legislature in 2002. County commissions could create a program and assess up to $2.20 per thousand. Harrison County is the only county that does not have the full tax with their program.
You have a list of the counties?
I do, and that it's in
She
your
said
email. There's 19 other counties and a list of everybody's amount that they got for the tax transfer.
If I may, the Farmland Protection Board definitely supports this and requests that we increase this. They're very proud. Earlier this year, we were able to close on 2 different farms, which, has been huge for the Farmland Protection Board. Also with this, some of the members plan to be here today, Mr. Billy Suon and also Mr. Coffindaffer, but they're a little busy with calving season, so they were unable to make it. It'd be my recommendation to go ahead and approve and do the max.
Are any counties as large as ours?
Yes, they're Berkeley County.
Okay.
What's the other one? Jefferson, Greenbrier. They're bringing in much more money than we are.
Greenbrier is?
Yes,
Well, it's because they're at the 220.
right.
Charlotte, please don't let me be rude to you, and I apologize to you all. I make the motion to go ahead and do it as the county administrator recommended. Please don't think I'm being rude. I've got it fast.
Okay. Motion to approve the $2.20 from $1.50 to $2.20. Okay, is there any, I hate to say discussion, but,
Yeah, go ahead.
No.
okay, all in,
Wait a minute. Yeah.
all,
You went to July 1?
Makes sense.
effective
July-
July 1st,
July 1st.
2025. Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
I apologize.
Okay, back up to 21. Thank you, Charlotte. Unless you had any more questions on that.
No, I just wanted to make sure that where we stood with all of it. Was I was stunned that we hadn't gotten that far with it.
Okay, review, discuss, consider resolution and letter to request a bank account for GovWell.
Oh,
We
Madam-
actually need to go to 20.
Yes, we skipped number 20, Madam President.
I was backing up. I was not going to start at 20, so. Does that sound good, David? You
That's
like
okay.
that? Okay, Christina, you.
I'll just sign it, just sign the paper, that's all.
Resolution authorizing, I can't speak today either, the acceptance of funds from the West Virginia Department of Agriculture for the West Virginia Spay Neuters Assistance Program.
Well, this one's actually good news, so you don't want to skip it. It
Well, I
was.
wasn't gonna skip it. I was just working backwards.
The West Virginia Department of Agriculture has released their yearly spay and neuter monies, and we were awarded $8,500 with a match of $2,125. So this is just the resolution to accept those funds for animal control to disperse those vouchers into the community.
Okay.
Move to approve resolution and to fix signatures.
Okay. Motion to approve resolution and affix signatures. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Okay, 25.
Sure you don't want to give me
Okay.
26? Cause I'll get us out of here.
I was thinking, 21, review, discuss, consider resolution and letter, I've said this once, to request a bank account for GovWell.
So this is a resolution to be able to get a sub account to go into the general county or general fund.
Isn't it gonna be a clearing account? Is it gonna be a
It
clearing?
is, it
Okay.
is. So it's just kind of like a
Make sure
pass
we're all
through.
still on the same page.
It's just a pass through so we can accept payments online for GovWell for the new permitting.
Yes, Madam President, it's a clearing account. That way the planning department can accept.
904,
third party.
90 something.
Yes, and what it is, every clearing account has to be associated with a fund number. Talking to the auditor's office, it should be associated with the general county 001. So that is what this request is for and what this resolution designates.
And this is so we can accept the payments for GovWell. Take it out of there and put it in.
Yes, Madam President.
See, a little bit about what we're talking about. Okay, what's the pleasure on 21?
Move to approve,
And fix signatures.
fix signatures.
Motion to approve resolution and letter and to fix appropriate signatures where necessary. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None, motion carried. Number 23, review, discuss, consider declaring properties at 143 Bices Run Road, Enterprise, West Virginia, and 711 Bices Run Road, Enterprise, West Virginia, as an emergency nuisance within the framework of the International Property Maintenance Code ordinance so that emergency measures abatement can be commenced.
Move to declare the properties at 143 Bices Run Road, Enterprise, West Virginia, and 711 Bices Road, Enterprise, West Virginia as an emergency.
143,
I'm
right?
sorry. Yep, 143. And to fix any signatures needed.
Motion to declare 143 Bices Run and 711 Bices Run Enterprise emergency nuisance and to affix the appropriate signatures. Correct? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. 24, review, discuss, consider request to travel for 911 employees to go to Herkin, West Virginia for NINA 911 Center Supervisor Program on May 27th through the 30th for Nina Lord, Justin Norman, and Jacob Heyer.
Move to approve travel for 991 employees A through C.
Motion to approve travel for 911 employees A through C. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Laura?
Madam President, the biggest thing I have to, I'm pretty excited to announce is the budget is over. I mean, except for the third Tuesday, that I feel like that's been on my report forever. Other than that, trying to get caught up on the projects and keep things moving forward, and go from there.
Mr. Hinkle?
I want to thank everybody that worked on the budget and the commission for their work on the budget. Staff did a great job. I appreciate staff in their supplying us with the information for today's meeting. That's been very helpful. And I like the way they did the new accounts payable form sheet. I don't know if you've had a chance to look how they broke it down. It's very easy to look at now and to understand.
Oh, they have, yeah. But I've seen.
Yeah, so that's all I want to say is just thanks to the staff. I know it's been a hectic to get all this done. Thanks elected officials for understanding some of the things that we had to do. It wasn't something we wanted to do, but when you have to control costs, you have to control costs. So I think we did a good job as a group of people to accomplish that. So again, thank you, Susan. Thank you, Laura, and thanks to the staff.
Ditto. Thank you, David. I'm not thanking myself. Wasn't easy. We got it done. That's it for me.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.